We got Logan Robinson here. This is basically, folks, a tradition. We get Logan on here to talk Florida State football with us pre-spring and pre-fall to break down all the offensive and defensive positions. Logan, before we do that, I'm curious about the ACC settlement with Florida State and Clemson. Not going to go through all the financials, folks. There's all sorts of information out there. I've got live streams and videos all over the place, so check them out. But basically, the exit fee has been reduced significantly, and it's going to go down by $18 million every year. There's a TV contract that ends in 2030, 31. You know, there was all this hype concerning Florida State in particular, and Florida State fans getting all giddy and happy and thinking, we go Big Ten, we go SEC, life's going to be better. The ACC is able to hold it together, but there seems to be like this finish line, like, well, that exit fee is going to continue to drop and drop and drop and drop. And then this may just be a matter of time at this point. So, you know, how, based on your interactions with Florida State fans, how do they feel about the ACC sticking together? And what do you think is ultimately going to take place?
I think at first, everybody, the fan base, you know, until you do some reading, do just a tiny little bit of research and just don't look at the headlines, which I think everybody likes to do when they're going through Facebook and they don't even read the article. You probably see that on your shows, Mark, or on your videos. Before anybody just watches something for at least 30 seconds, they just go ahead and comment something. And at first, I think the reaction was, oh, no, this sucks. We're screwed. We didn't get out. We're screwed. You know, they thought that this was going to happen a lot earlier, that Florida State would be able to exit. But, you know, now looking at the logistics of what went down all throughout the lawsuit, Florida State, I think overall gets the win because they trimmed off that exit time. Yes, you still are going to pay a lot of money, but that was something that, you know, Florida State, I mean, just in realistic terms, they should, you know that that's going to be happening anyways. So they already knew they're going to be paying a lot of money, but this trims down the time. And getting more revenue for teams that carry the conference is big. So like Florida State, which, as we know, carries a ton of those ratings coming onto the ACC, Florida State gets more of a bigger cut as well. That is able to give them more of a benefit. Something that, you know, Michael Alford, whenever he first arrived at Florida State, brought up and mentioned early on. And, you know, I think it's good that, you know, you have an athletic director that's pushing towards that, because Florida State does deserve it. And yes, I understand that you didn't get out in you know, 2025, 2026. It's going to take another 5 years for that potential exit to happen. But, you know, also too, you got to realize too, the timeline of how things go into the Big Ten, SEC, a lot of things can change there and their TV packages. And it kind of fits in the same timeline where Florida State can potentially find their exit from the ACC, but also to find some help and potential funding of trying to get out and go join another conference. So it's one of those things where Florida State, there's got to be a little bit more of some patience here, but this might come at a good time here as well. Just going off of Florida State going 2-10 last year, might just want to enjoy the ACC for a little bit longer. Definitely too, you got some big out of conference schedules coming up. You've got a Georgia series as well. There's a lot that I think Florida State should try to take advantage of right now with this college football playoff system, where, you know, the goal is just, if you can get to Charlotte, you still somewhere have a potential argument to get into a college football playoff, just depending on how your overall record did, as the two top teams from the ACC go every year now to Charlotte. So going to have just a little bit more patience, right?
And I think it's a fair deal from the standpoint that 40% of the TV revenue goes evenly to the conference. So you say, hey, we're all in a conference. We get an even split of this 40%, but you take the other 60% and it's based on TV ratings. I ran the numbers, which took me a long time, but I took all the TV ratings from 2023 and 24, and I broke it down based on percentage of how much each school was getting based on TV ratings and how that would work out in slicing the pie in that 60%. And I took 40 million as the average amount that they are getting over the life of this contract. Now it's actually higher than that per team than the 40 million, but that's the average of the contract. And Florida State having the best TV ratings the last two football seasons, even at 2-10, having the best TV ratings the last 2 years in the ACC, would make 129 million instead of 80 million So they come out 50 million ahead with the extra split.
Wow.
And that's even coming off a bad football season.
And they will take all those resources possible because they're doing so many moves. Doak Campbell Stadium's getting its renovation. That's set to debut against Alabama. But then, too, you have a massive football-only facility that you're trying to get up and get going as soon as possible that they're working on. That is actually going to affect a little bit of how they run spring camp here soon. And then, too, just more funding for what we were talking about, off the field stuff and how they need to work the NIL system, transfer portal. There's a lot of money that goes into that. And, the plus there, like you said, that revenue share and getting the rating, higher ratings is something that Florida State has always done for the ACC. And it was about time where they were going to get more and not share the same amount of money as teams like Wake Forest or NC State. That's just not how it should be. And good for FSU getting some extra cash.
Logan Robinson stopping by as he always does. Florida State on the practice field and trying to erase 2-10. You can catch Logan at Nole Game Day and the whole staff right there. That is your destination for Florida State football content.